Hi, Mr. Phillips here from Aurora, Nebraska. I'm going to show you a quick video explaining a project I do in class, an activity about percent of change. So as you can see, students are comparing value 1 and value 2 with the different milliliters of water. This is a great opportunity for them to practice measurement with milliliters and also reading water beakers. I look for the percent of change between the first value and the second value, and the students have to identify if that's a percent of increase or decrease based on the amount of water in the separate beakers. There's 4 different trials set up so that they do 4 different measurements throughout this station. The next station that I have is the dice rolling station. This station, the students are given 2 dice, and both these dice are 20-sided dice, and that way you kind of have a variety of numbers to work with. They roll the first dice, and that dice will be their first amount. Then they roll the second dice, and that will be their second amount. And what they do then is they use those numbers to find the percent of change between the first value and the second value, still identifying whether it's a percent of increase or percent of decrease. This next station I call the Flick the Cube station. This one is probably the one that students enjoy the most. What they do is they have this little cube, and you could use really anything. I originally thought I was going to use a football, like a little paper football, but I had these cubes in my room, so you could substitute for anything. But they flick the cube from their desk, and then they take the first measurement and the second measurement and compare the two. So their first flick they look at as their original amount, the second flick they look at as their second amount, and they find the percent of change between the first and second flick. Now I give them the options to either take turns and have one person do both of them and then the next person goes, or some students like to compete against each other and have one person go, the next person go, and still find that percent of change. The other thing to mention is when they measure, to measure from the foot of the ground, and you use a tape measure, or you could have like a yardstick or something to have a measure, but always measure from the same spot regardless of where the cube or whatever you're flicking goes. The last station I have them work on is I call the volume station. I give them 2 different boxes, and we talk about how, okay, the first box is the first step, and then the second box is either an increase or decrease, and they find the volume of those boxes. So you're working on the equation with volume. You're also working on an opportunity for them to use measurement once again. I do let them use calculators on something like this because I want them to measure the nearest eighth of an inch, and they are able to crunch the numbers a little bit and figure out the volume and the percent of change with that. One of the main reasons I like this activity is it's a chance for students to get up. You can tell by the setting of the classroom, no one's in their seats, they're all actively engaged. They're working with percent of change, but they're also working with a lot of other things like measurement. They're working with teamwork, working together as a team. But it's a great activity because it allows an opportunity to get them actively engaged on something that can sometimes be pretty boring.